Welcome back to another episode of the Field of 68's off-season grades. And today we're going to be talking about the team that probably made the single biggest splash in the 2024 college basketball offseason. And that is the Arkansas Razorbacks, who lost Eric Musselman and went out and hired John Calipari off of Kentucky's staff. Coach Cal brought with him a couple of former Kentucky guys, a couple of former Kentucky commits. He brought back a guy in Trevon Brazil, who is the lone returnee for this program, and he brought in some of the biggest and highest profile transfers on the market. Janelle Davis from FAU, Jonas Adu from Tennessee. But mostly, he put Arkansas basketball in a place where they are more or less the center of the college basketball world at this point with the guy that they have hired. Let me start with this, Jeff. If you remember back to the shows that we were doing live, I remember getting a text before we went live on I believe it was the Friday. Was it Friday or Sunday? It was Sunday, right? The Sunday before the title game that he was hired.
Yep.
Was it? Yeah, it was the Sunday before the title game. I remember getting a text before we went live on that show that day that was kind of like, are you hearing any of this Arkansas or Coach Cal to Arkansas stuff? And I remember being like, Coach Cal, what are we talking about here? This is just going to be leverage to get more money out of Kentucky. And then as the show was going on, we started, the noise started getting a little bit louder. And then with about an hour and 10 minutes left in the show, you kind of left. And then we didn't see you again for a little while. And then as soon as the show was done, probably within 30 minutes, news officially broke that John Calipari was heading to Arkansas. So what do you remember about how that process played out? And now that you look back on it, are you surprised at all at the fact that this was what Cal finally jumped at, that it was Arkansas that finally convinced him to leave Lexington?
So remember what I've been saying for like the last 5 years was that Arkansas is the second best job in the SEC basketball job. And
Mhm.
everybody was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. This, that, and the other. Like Cal needed to get out, and he knew that, but he wasn't going to leave for anything. He wasn't going to leave for a job that he didn't feel like could get to Final Fours and win national titles. And he didn't want to walk around Lexington, Kentucky anymore with his head down, which is what he would have had to do this year, right? You're going for coffee in the morning. People are looking at you, and half the crowd still loves you, but half of them are like, you know what? It's time, coach. It's time. Like it's run its course. You haven't done anything in the NCAA tournament since 2019. We just lost another embarrassing game in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Um, so I think Cal knew if the job was right, he needed to get out. And Arkansas came along, and again, they went after Chris Beard, missed, played around with Jerome Tang, missed. And then, you heard Chris James's name. And I think some of the money people there were like, no, we're not okay with that. We're not okay. Let's swing. And obviously, you look at the money people there, and that's the one thing that he's going to have. He's going to have more of it at Arkansas in a way than he will in Kentucky. Certainly at Kentucky now, because they weren't going to empty their pockets for him anymore. Those days were over because he wasn't connecting with the fan base and the boosters like he did early on. He didn't have that juice, that pop. And I think now you got it. At a new place like that, they're hungry at Arkansas. They're pissed off Musselman didn't want to be in Fayetteville. And Cal. I mean, Cal he can sell, man. He can sell. And that's what he's done at Arkansas so far and brought in a team that is going to be competitive. I don't know if they're going to go to a Final Four, but they at least have enough talent to be interesting. And I'm sure, I was talking with somebody at Adidas in South Carolina earlier, and we're like, who's going to get more juice from like ESPN? Is it going to be Mark Pope in Kentucky, or is it going to be John Calipari in Arkansas? Because is it the brand? Cal and Kentucky was the perfect combo. Now you got the Kentucky brand and the Calipari brand. Which gets more play?
Um, I think both of them get quite a bit of play, and I think the SEC really messed up by only having these two teams play once this entire season. I
Sure.
think what's going to be really interesting about this, and it has less to do with this year and more to do with the long term of Cal at Arkansas, is does this reinvigorate him? Right. I think one of the things that we kind of saw the last 4 or 5 years, and I think it impacted a lot of since COVID was I think other things like a lot of us just kind of realize there's a bigger picture than just our job, right? And do think that there was part of Cal that was kind of like, and it has, this kind of coincided with Terrence Clark and his passing, and I think that he kind of lost sight of how to dominate the recruiting game the way that he used to dominate. If you go back and look at some of the quotes that he put out there from like 2014 and 2015, it was like, it doesn't matter who's there. Kentucky's always going to eat. Like, it doesn't matter how long you're recruiting a guy. If I want him, if we want him, if Kentucky wants him, I'm going to go get him. Right. There was a level of John Calipari-ness that I don't think we've quite seen in the last 3 to 4 years. And I'm very curious to see how that manages to present itself in the next 3 to 5 years at Arkansas. Because the one thing that I do think is clear, right? The last couple of years, it's been all about transfers. It's been all about getting the COVID year transfers. It's been all about trying to find who can be that fifth or sixth year guy that we can get of an extra year or two that can be 24 years old, that can come in here and really do a job for us as a professional basketball player still in college. I think that's going to change a little bit back to these one and done freshmen, these 5-star freshmen, these bringing guys in for now that you have NIL 2 or 3 years maybe to kind of develop into those pros. And I think that that is something where that's Cal's sweet spot. So now that there's going to be more of a priority on recruiting these 5-star freshmen, what does it look like? How does that work for him? And does he find a way to be able to be the place that all of the elite talent goes to again?
Yeah, I mean, he's 65 years old. So I'll say this: he's got like a 5-year window here.
Mm-hmm.
And year one, and I know we're going to talk about this now with this team, and I'll say this not just with Arkansas, but with Louisville, with Kentucky, with USC, with all these programs where they have a new coach and they have basically an entirely new team, right? I mean, yes, Brazil was there last year. I know it's a little different because he brings two guys with him, Big Z
Mm-hmm.
and DJ Wagner. So there's some familiarity there, but for the most part, you're dealing with a completely different team and a different environment. I don't think those teams are Final Four caliber teams. Any of them. I just don't think you can flip it that quickly. And I think it's if you get to the NCAA tournament and win a game, whether you're again Arkansas, Louisville, Kentucky, USC, any of those teams, that's a pretty good year in year one these days because of the turnover. But again, like I can't
Just
wait to see what
real
he
quick
does.
on that, I just want to. You made an interesting point there. Out of all of those teams that are kind of in that situation, one, I think Arkansas is probably the best setup to win this year because I would make the argument that they have the best player out of any of those groups in Janelle Davis. I think that he is a pro at the point. Well, maybe not the point, but at the lead guard spot. And I think that you need that. I think they have an anchor that's a veteran at the 5 spot. I think that they have a guy in Trevon Brazil where if he can get back to who he was, can be an NBA player at the 4. And I think that they filled in the rest of their roster with a bunch of role players that should be able to do jobs, right? You look at Carter Knox, you look at Boogie Flane, you look at Billy Richmond, you look at DJ Wagner, you look at Adute Thoreau, you look at Big Z. Like they have a lot of guys that where the pieces make sense. And T.O. loves to say this. He says I'm a big puzzle pieces fit guy, and I think that the pieces with this team fit. They have the best player out of that group. My biggest
It's
question
the
is
point
always going.
guard. But what piece is the point guard?
So that's we can get that. I'm saving that conversation for a second because I want to get into that for the X Factor because I think that's really interesting. But my big question is the knock on Cal towards the end of his tenure at Kentucky was he gets the talent, but he doesn't know how to utilize the talent in the right way. And I think that you see that a little bit with like, look how good Tyrese Maxey's been, how good Reed Shepard's been, how good Devin Booker's been, how good all of the Emmanuel Quickly, all of these guys that didn't live up to that expectation at Kentucky are now thriving in the NBA, making billions of dollars combined. Um, will he be able to take this group that is very clearly a team that needs to be playing a modern style of basketball and be able to play that modern style of basketball? Or are you going to basically see like Coach Cowball, which is where they run that same stuff over and over and over again, and they try to play basketball like it's 2008 still?
That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about. And I'm also worried about, it's funny. On one hand, you know how much I love Nelly Davis, right? Like
Mhm.
nobody loved him more than I did last year. But I do think there were some issues within FAU because of Nelly. I do. I mean, I think again, there's some things that he gives you, and there's some things he can taketh away, right? We saw at the end of games, there were some head scratching decisions that he made with the ball in his hands at times. Um, Generally, Cal is dealing with these talented freshmen that he can program in a way, right? He can program them because they're kind of a blank slate. They might have some issues from high school, but they're going to come in and it's John Calipari, right? They're going to listen to him, and you're kind of starting from scratch. Janelle Davis isn't like that. Like, this is a different dude for John Calipari that he's never had to deal with, right? Like, again, love the kid. Think he's super talented. I'm one of the few that still thinks, like, I can't believe an NBA team wouldn't have taken him in the 30s. Like,
Mhm.
I can't believe you and I think both agree on this, that he's a perfect second unit guard that can go get you some buckets. And he rebounds and he's tough as shit and all of it. But obviously, the NBA guys were worried about something, Rob, because he didn't even get invited to the combine. So they were not on Janelle Davis like we were.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that was they saw him the year before, they kind of knew who he was, and they knew that there was this deal in place at Arkansas. So it's like if he's going to end
I
up
don't
back
think it
in
was that
Arkansas,
at all. Not at all. Not one
I,
bit.
I wonder if there is something to it. Just like we knew what he was, we knew the bag that he's getting from Tyson Chicken, right? Like it's,
He
I
wanted to
mean,
go. He wanted to go to the league, and I'm telling you, if you had made him the 30th pick in the draft, he
well,
was
of course,
gone
yeah.
to go.
Yeah, if you would have made him a
Right.
first round pick so
Right.
he gets $10 million guaranteed, yeah, he's
Sure.
probably going to go take that.
Well, what did
Right.
Bronny get? What did Bronny get guaranteed?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think we all agree that Nelly Davis is better than Bronny. I think we all agree that on basketball terms, Nelly Davis probably deserved to go to the combine over Bronny. And I think we all understand why Bronny was the one that ended up at the combine, why Bronny got drafted 55th, and why he has that guaranteed deal. If you like, you want me to explain to you how that whole
No,
situation,
because other
how the whole
guys got
process
it
worked?
too. Other guys got it too in the mid-second round. There are a few other guys that either have or will get it.
Jamal
And
Shed, baby, he got 4 years guaranteed or 3 years guaranteed. He
who
just
did?
got Jamal Shed's got he got seven. He's making 7 figures guaranteed with a crooked number in front, two commas and a
That's what I'm
crooked
saying
number.
to you.
Shout
I'm
out to
saying
Tim
if
Miles.
Janelle Davis had an offer like that, if he
He's
had
gone.
an offer like that, he would be gone. It wasn't that NBA teams were scared of Arkansas. It was NBA teams were scared of some of the baggage that Janelle Davis was bringing with him, and they honestly don't think he's as talented as you and I do,
Well,
frankly.
maybe the NBA teams know something. All right, so I'm going to get to the X factor. We kind of teased this a little bit earlier, and I want to make sure that we have this discussion because to me, it's DJ Wagner, DJ Wagner, DJ Wagner, and I just wonder what he is going to be this season. And what I mean by that is, I think if he is trying to be the DJ Wagner that is the scorer, that was the bucket getter, that was the guy that we all thought was the like a top 5 prospect in the 2023 class, and he's trying to show how good he can be as a lead guy, as the someone where you build the offense around him as an offensive hub. I think that is something that will not go well for him. If he accepts this idea that, hey, look, the best thing that I can do for this team is try to be someone like a DeJuan Harris, be someone that sets the table, be the defensive focal point, be the head of the snake on that end of the floor, be the leader, be the guy that runs this team, that sets everybody else up. And oh, by the way, if you need me at the end of a clock, I can also go get a bucket because I'm freaking DJ Wagner. If he can accept that role, I think that this takes Arkansas up a level. And frankly, I think that that makes him a much more attractive player and prospect for the NBA level. If he can buy into being that guy, be a 3-and-D point guard that sets everything up, and you can have a chance to maybe next year being an All-American kind of a guy. I don't think it's crazy to say that DeJuan Harris is in his realm of outcomes at the collegiate level, but I don't know if DJ Wagner wants to be DeJuan Harris. I think he wants to be DJ Wagner, and I think that that's going to be the issue that we talk about when it comes to this Arkansas team all season long. Whether you are a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. After a 6-month season loaded with cross-country travel, I can promise you that proper recovery is a priority for me these days. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of the Field of 68. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or the EE system. If you haven't heard of the EE system yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you're here in New Jersey or at one of the hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. If you're interested in experiencing the EE system technology for yourself, go to unifiedhealing.com/unified68 to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/UNIFYD, the number 6, the number 8. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including the EE system.
The only thing those two have in common is their names start with the letter D.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Because DJ Wagner cannot be DeJuan Harris. He doesn't want to be DeJuan Harris. He wants to be a scorer. Now, the big thing for me, for DJ Wagner, yeah, I mean, I hear you. Can he be closer to a point guard? I mean, he averaged over 3 assists a game last year. He was better than I thought in that standpoint, but he can't shoot. He can't shoot. He has played bully ball his whole life. And this is what I worried about last year, right? What I said, like, can't shoot. He's been bigger, stronger than guys. It kind of caught up with him a little bit. Now, he was fine coming, like he was solid last year. My question is going to be, you've got Janelle Davis, needs the ball in his hands, right, to score. Needs the ball in his hands. DJ Wagner kind of needs the ball in his hands, does he not? Wants the ball in his hands. Could he be a little bit more of a pass? Sure, like he could be a little bit more. It's not what he wants. That's not what he wants. He wants to be a scorer. He's an undersized 2 guard. So then it comes down to Boogie Fland, okay? Johnwell Fland, otherwise known as Boogie Fland. Came out of Archbishop Stepinac in New York. Pretty highly touted, like top 25 kid. He's 6'2", not really a point guard as a freshman, incoming freshman. More of a shooter. So that's good. They got the shooter, but like Janelle Davis, what do they have in common? Janelle Davis, DJ Wagner, Boogie Fland. None of them make people better. None of them make people better. I don't like that when you have 3 guards, and they're all a little bit different, right? Again, Fland, probably your best pure shooter. Janelle can just get buckets. DJ is more of a power guard, but none of them make. Now, maybe you throw them all out there and they're all okay.
Even when you go further down the roster, like Carter Knox is a bucket, right? Like he's not out there to set people up. Like Billy Richmond is not out there to set people up. But Dude Thoreau is like a junkyard dog foreman. Big Z's out there, catch, shoot, make threes, be a rim protector. Jonas Adu is, let's get a big physical guy.
None of their bigs make people better. None of their bigs are good passers, right? I mean, we could say that right now. Like none of those other guys.
Big Z is, but like
he can be.
But
totally.
there's
Yes.
other issues when it comes to Big Z's effectiveness in the SEC this season.
Yeah. I just, again, I start there and I say, like, they're talented, those three perimeter guys. They are. And, the good thing that Cal did, the best move he made, was not taking 6 freshmen with him. The
Mm-hmm.
6 freshmen that he signed, like, to me, the kid like Quentin Ince, who went to Arizona State, the best move he made was not bringing him with him. I forget who the other two were. That basically didn't come. Travis Perry. Is Travis Perry one of them? The state of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right. Travis Perry, who's a Kentucky kid. He wasn't going to come with him to Arkansas anyway. And even on Yensu, like, no reason to bring him with you. You got 9 deep right now. Like you started with, most of the pieces fit together pretty well. I got to see it out of Carter Knox. When I saw him last summer or 2 summers, whatever it was, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well. Like, he's a good player. I love Thiero. I love him. I think he's perfect. They needed him desperately. And I like the combination of Big Z and Adu. I actually like those two because they're very different. Adu can really protect the rim, really good defensive big. And obviously Big Z, like, we know what he can do offensively. We just don't know if he's going to be able to do it consistently.
Yeah. I think we kind of agree. It's DJ Wagner, man. Like, it's everything is DJ Wagner that kind of is going to determine what they're going to be good no matter
Janelle
what.
Davis. I think it might be Janelle Davis and how much he buys in and could be a leader, Rob. Like, if he's a really good leader, like, I think that could set the example where if he's all about getting buckets and trying to get to the league, because obviously, going to play for Cal, you're thinking that way. I mean, you are thinking like, well, he's throwing all these guys to the league. I'm going to go there and he's going to get me the league. I just wonder, I feel like that's more important. I just think DJ Wagner is what he is. I think he is what he is. I think he's going to average the same thing, 10 points, maybe 3 assists. But I think Janelle Davis buying in and getting this team to play together and being a leader, or being a guy that's more about himself and just getting his, that could be the difference. And then being a team that honestly completely combusts on one end and is an NIT team, or has a chance to go maybe the second weekend.
I don't see that. I don't see the implosion happening. I think there's just too much talent there for that to happen. But I get what I hear what you're saying. Man, I wish DJ, because I think where I disagree with you a little bit is I think that the pieces are there for DJ Wagner to really be, because there were times last year where he was the best perimeter defender that Kentucky had. And I know that's not
Yes.
saying much,
True.
but
True.
I think he is a willing player on that end. And I think that he is a better passer. He's capable of being a better passer than people realize. I just think he's wired to be a bucket getter, and I wish we could like reprogram that, because I do think that there's a really good ball control kind of a point guard in there at some point, and I would love to be able to see him. If Cal can find a way to get that out of him, I think you got a chance to have a really good team. All right, the expectations for this group. They're going to end up being a consensus top 20, top 25 kind of a team in the preseason. I think everybody agrees Alabama is the favorite to win the SEC this year, right? They're going to be a number 1 or number 2 team in America. They're going to be the favorite to win the SEC. Once you get past them, Auburn, Arkansas, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida, Mississippi State. I'm missing somebody in there as well. I know, please don't get mad at me, but there are a lot of really, really good teams at the top of the SEC. Where do you see Kentucky kind of netting out in that group? Texas A&M was who I missed. Where do you see Kentucky kind of netting out in those standings?
I don't know, probably like 5th. I could see him being like 5th, somewhere around there, which again,
Also, I
fits
said Kentucky.
like,
I said Kentucky. I meant Arkansas. I'm sorry. That's going to happen a lot today.
so
It's going to happen a lot.
yeah, exactly. I mean, again, I don't see him winning the league, but I see him being in that second tier, finishing with like maybe 5, 6 losses, something like that, finishing 5th, and again, getting like, 7 seed in the NCAA tournament and playing a tough first round game. Listen, they're going to be fun. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to be intriguing. I love the fact that Cal has stayed in the league. I love that. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think, like you said, when you started this whole thing, this is going to motivate him, reinvigorate him, where I think, it had gotten a little bit old at Kentucky. And it had gotten old, and then obviously, he didn't have success in the NCAA tournament. I worry a little bit about his staff, to be honest. I do. Yeah. No, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. Like I wish, here's what I don't understand with Cal. Here's what I don't get. Last year, he brought in John Welch, and John Welch left after a year. John Welch is a former NBA guy, more of a player development guy. Look at what Nate Oates has done. Okay. Last year, he brings in Ryan Pannone, an NBA guy. This year, he brings in another NBA guy. And basically, he'll have those guys running the offense and the defense. Why doesn't Cal do this? Is it just that he wants yes men and loyalty? But why wouldn't you go to the NBA, get some dudes who have coached at a high, and listen, with all due respect to Kenny Payne, that's who he added to the staff this year. I think we can agree that Kenny Payne isn't going to help in the X's and O's after watching Louisville the last 2 years.
No comment. I'm trying to be nice.
Okay. Am I wrong here?
No,
Tell
you're
me
not
I'm
wrong. You know what I would have loved, and I pushed for this a little bit last summer when Kentucky was making decisions. I would love for Cal to hire John Beilein. I feel like going out and getting a guy like that is kind of what you need. Just someone that just knows X's and O's. But we're on the same page. All right. Now's the time, Jeff. Now's the time for you to give your off-season grades for the Arkansas Razorbacks. By the way, did you know that John Martin officially renounced his title as a fan of the Memphis Tigers, and he is now officially a fan of the Arkansas Razorbacks? Did you know that?
Wow, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's sweet. So my grade, I mean, I think it's still again, you went out, you got all this money, this NIL, because they hired Cal. He didn't have to do a lot to get it. You got the best guy in the portal in Janelle Davis. You brought a couple guys with you. You got Adu. I like it. I mean, I'll give him, I think he did as good a job as you could do for the most part. I'll give him a B+. I'll give him a B+. Maybe even an A-, but I'm going to settle on a B+ here.
Yeah. So when I did this, I did not, for me, it's not Coach Cal, right? For me, it is Arkansas's offseason as a whole. You lost Eric Musselman. You replaced him with John Calipari. You went from being a team that had buzz for what may or may not have been some investigations going on around that program to something that is okay, they get Arkansas hired Coach Cal, the buzziest name that you're going to find, right? They were able to not only bring back a guy, Trevon Brazil, who was one of the more highly regarded transfers on the market when he decided he was coming back to school. You added Janelle Davis, you added Jonas Adu. There are people that will tell you that's the best big or one of the best bigs and the best guard that were available in the portal. You brought some culture guys with you and some continuity guys with you from your last stop from Kentucky, and you brought in a couple freshmen that, in theory, should be there for 2 years, maybe 3 years, to be able to develop a little bit of continuity within the program. I think overall it's a B. I think you're 100% correct. I'm not going to go as far as a B+ because there's a massive gaping void at the point guard spot versus what you would have hoped to be there. But I don't think you could do much better as a program when you're replacing a coach like Eric Musselman and you bring in somebody that is the biggest brand in college basketball right now as a human. And would you disagree? I think Cal is the single biggest brand that
Totally.
We're not talking Duke. We're not talking the schools. As a person, he's the biggest brand in college basketball.
Agreed.
Yep. All right. This has been the offseason grade episode for Arkansas. We're recording 45 of these over the course of the next month or two. They'll be rolling out until September when we dive into full-on season preview content. Until then, my name's Rob Dauster. That was Jeff Goodman. We'll see you guys on the next episode.